Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Metal Tiger Gaming. If you guys are new, comment, subscribe, and share. I'm going to kind of get into it. This is going to be our review for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Insane game. There's a couple of things I'm going to go over in depth just because I felt like some parts of the game were just really long for no reason. And I'll get to that in a minute. So, how long is Assassin's Creed Valhalla? 119 hours. That's how long it took me. That's with the side quests. That's with the wealth. That's with your mysteries. That's with your side character quests. I mean, 119 hours is a lot. I mean, especially if you're like myself, who works 40 plus hours a week. That's a lot of time to invest in a game. And that being said, I mean, that's just a constant grind too. I mean, you're constantly fighting. You're constantly trying to do your main quest for your weapons, for your armor, building your settlement. I mean, there's just a lot that you do in game that just really kind of grinds you out. There's a lot of fatigue there. And the other thing that kind of sucks is if you're kind of new to myself, the only other Assassin's Creed game that I played was Origins, and that was a long time ago. And if you don't have the knowledge or the lore of all the previous games, you're not really going to understand the ending here because there's a lot of subtle hints to the previous games, which makes it hard. So I suggest that if you have the access, or if you guys find it on YouTube even, go watch that first or try to see the playthrough and get the information online. I'm sure you guys can do that. It doesn't make sense. I myself had to look it up. And just so you guys know, there's going to be some spoilers ahead, so just kind of make sure you guys are ready for that. I don't want to spoil nothing for you guys. If you're not ready, so just get ahead of that now. One of the problems I have with the game is, again, 119 hours, which is a lot of time. That, for me, took about a month and a half, like I said, because I also work 40 to 50 hours a week, which is a lot. And then I'm trying to, put in time to beat this game, trying to get it done. I try to stream most of it, but like I said, it's a lot of content to try to get through, which is difficult because once you get to the ending, which again, we'll kind of get to here in a minute. When you get to the ending finally, you're kind of expecting this because you've had so much time with the characters and so much time with the development, so much time with the story, so much time with, Viking Age England that you're like, okay, cool, you're expecting this really awesome end, and it just doesn't happen. Because my end, which is the bad end, you and Sigurd go back to Norway, and you find out that Norway is a descendant of like Tyr, basically, and you find out you're Odin. No surprise. We'll get to that in a minute. But it sucks, honestly, because you waste all that time trying to find out what the ending is going to be. You have no idea what's going to happen because your whole thing is to pacify England so that you and your clan can take over England, and you get to the ending and it makes no sense. And then Loki, the god of treachery, ends up becoming alive. Layla dies, and you're like, okay, cool, what happens next? The game ends. There's nothing after that. The game just ends. Not only that, but I also have a problem with the DLC. If you got a pre-order like I did, you were supposed to be able to play the Way of the Berserker right away, which you didn't. I mean, I literally just got the quest done right before I beat the game, which you're supposed to be able to get earlier in the game, so I don't really know what that's about. So Ubisoft, get that ready, because that sucks. I mean, you shouldn't have to wait that long for DLC that you get as part of a pre-order practice to get it near the end of the game. I mean, 119 hours, basically 119 and a half hours, took me to get to this game to get this done. So that's just not acceptable, in my opinion. And again, the other thing that sucks is there's a lot of background knowledge. So if you don't already have that AC knowledge, you're not going to understand what's going on. Like, you don't know why the staff's important. Spoiler, it's actually Loki's wife. It actually somehow got stuck in the staff, and you're not going to know that unless you have the previous knowledge of the game, which is going to suck. And again, given that's 119 hours, I mean, that's also those side quests. Replaying is just not really, unless you were like, oh my God, best game this has ever been created. It's just not worth going back for the playthrough. That's my opinion. You guys are more than welcome to disagree. And that's going to be a lot of time and effort to try to get a second ending that I just don't feel like plus, which means you don't get to keep all the weapons that you took for 118, 119, 120 hours to get, and you don't get to keep it. You have to restart the whole thing over, which sucks because you basically get the hammer and Mjolnir and you're like, awesome. This is awesome. That's Thor's hammer. And then you're like, cool, I can't even use it. Like, that's not going to do you any good. So that being said, I think the side quests were awesome. There was a lot of them that I felt were a really good break from the regular combat because there's a lot of combat that was going on. There was constantly fighting, sieging, shooting people with bows and arrows, trying to run away from enemies, finding new locations. So I thought the side quests were really good. I mean, a bit, but just being able to have access to the side quests are awesome. I thought that they were just really immersive, and I thought they were going to be an addition to the game. And all that stuff, because like I said, I'm very familiar with Viking lore, Viking mythology, Viking creatures, gods, stuff like that. I had no idea how they were going to tie the two together. It's very seamless. They did a very, very good job of mixing in the Assassin's Creed with a little bit of the back lore of England, with the Viking lore, with sagas and honor and stuff like that. Excellent story arcs too. The story arcs were amazing. I mean, they made sense. They didn't make you feel like, oh my god, this is being insane. This is crazy. I don't know why they did a story arc like that. With Loki trying to get revenge for his children, he's like, oh, I finally got it. Like, the end of the game, he's like, oh, awesome. I'm the one that made it. I'm a survivor. You guys all died. But that's how the game ends, which is unfortunate because you're just kind of like, what does this mean? Like, okay. Because the other thing, too, is this is supposed to be the last game of the Assassin's Creed story line, reportedly, from Ubisoft. So now you have this weird cliffhanger where this game ends, Layla dies, what's next? Like, we don't know because it's supposed to be the last game. So I personally don't think that they're going to end the series here. Plus, they're making millions, if not billions of dollars off this AC Valhalla or AC storyline, period. Because you look at the fact that they make that much money, you're never going to stop doing it. It's like if Nintendo all of a sudden was like, yeah, we're not going to use Mario anymore. That doesn't make any sense. They're going to continue doing it. And I also think that the way they interwove a lot of the details in the story was awesome because they did a lot of research, a lot of legwork, which, let's be honest, AAA developer, Ubisoft should be able to do. So I'm not really surprised. I just like the way that it came out. I think it was really awesome that they did it. One of my biggest gripes, though, is that I was able to play this on the PlayStation 5. I got that at launch, and all my games are based off PlayStation 5. And they didn't really do anything with the controllers. I mean, this controller is insane. And they didn't do anything with it. They had a little bit with a patch update where, you could feel a little bit of tension to the bow, but that wasn't all the time. It was kind of flaky. The game had doesn't mean that they didn't have any. And even after, I think I probably went through 4 or 5 updates, it still had some issues where, you couldn't break a lock or, you kept sliding forever or you jump and you die. I mean, I kind of figured it'd be better. I mean, it's no cyberpunk disaster. Obviously, thankfully, they actually knew what they were doing. I also thought it was really funny. Kind of side note, now that I'm thinking about it, they actually had a COVID letter in there, so I thought that was kind of funny. They had that humor. That was awesome. One thing that I thought was really weird, and usually I'm not a huge person with music in games. I just think it doesn't ever make sense. But this game, I was kind of missing it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of music that you could really access or draw from on the cake for me. Sometimes the transportation is also a little annoying because you look at, you're trying to run from point A to point B or vice versa, and you basically have to do it from a horse, you have to do it on a boat, and sometimes that's 500-600 meters. It's going to take 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes here. So, I mean, they could really cut down that amount of just liquidation if they could just allow you to just fast travel almost every time you could do it. So I think that maybe Ubisoft maybe used it to load it seamlessly. I'm not sure because it was just a lot of transportation to get from point A to point B in order to get that stuff done. They did try to have some weird thing where you get to a road, you could like make it to your position, or you could do it also on your boat, which is okay. But I'm not sure. I'm not too sure about that. Speed of the game is amazing. That being said, I mean, there wasn't really a lot of load time because, like I said, this is on next-gen console, next-gen game. I think that this was pretty good. I think as far as speed, it was where I expected it to be. It was really quick. It didn't take up as much room as I thought it was going to, but it still took up a lot of room. I mean, you only have 600 some odd gigs after everything else, the programming and all that stuff that comes into it. So it wasn't that bad. And a personal gripe for me is just simply that you're a random detective throughout the whole game, which makes no sense to me. Assassins are like, yeah, we're going to figure this stuff out. But for me, a Viking in England, I think it's probably the biggest thing that doesn't make sense is that you're going to be detecting things, which doesn't make sense to me. Plus, not only that, but you're also randomly allocated throughout the story to like find random things or do random things you're supposed to do, and you're not even a real Viking. I mean, you're not even a real assassin near the end of the game because hide the mask doesn't make sense. But also being that though, Orlog and Flighting were probably the coolest missions in the game, simply because you could do actual Viking things. Flighting was a real thing. It was using verse and rhyme to try to defeat your opponent through insults. Modern day battle like that. Orlog clearly are not an actual game that they played. That was completely on Ubisoft. They completely made it up, which was awesome, creative. And they're actually making a physical game of that next year, so make sure you guys watch out for that. Again, I'm not sponsored by anybody, but I'm just saying I think it's awesome. I think you guys should check it out. 20 hours is a lot. I mean, I like being engaged, but like that's so much time. There's a lot of role playing game burnout at that time too. Yeah, I think we can make a great game with 14 hours of our time as far as gamers are concerned. Because sometimes we just want to get in and do that. I mean, there's Call of Duty for that, obviously. But I think my biggest gripe too is that sometimes, and obviously they do this to sell, but the concern I have mostly is the trailers that really sold the game to me. Like we're fighting in the battlefield and they're talking about Odin being there, or like talking about savages and the whole war scenario was never actually in the game. And I get they don't usually add that, but like for the amount of time cyberpunk situation, right? Nowhere near as bad where they hype the game up so much, everyone buys it, they find out it's garbage, and then they're like, "Holy crap, I need to take it back." Which we'll be doing some streaming of that here pretty soon. So make sure you guys stay tuned. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe so you guys can check those videos out too. But we're going to kind of get back on topic here. So one of the obvious things that I saw in the game is like, these are spoilers again, so watch out. If you guys aren't ready for spoilers, don't be paying attention. But so you find out Basim is actually Loki, and Alfred is actually the father of the Order. That's all very common things to do because you're 120 hours into the game. You're going to figure that stuff out rather quickly. I mean, it's not going to be something that's you're not going to be oblivious to, and it just sucks because again, all this transportation, all those little smaller things you have to do to get to where you're having to go, just makes the game that much longer, and it makes it predictable. And I mean, it's a AAA game. It's very smooth despite the setbacks. I mean, it's really not a bad game. It really isn't. I would honestly give it a rating 8 out of 10. Probably the best game I played on the next gen console. Outside of Astro's Playroom, that game is fantastic. When you guys get a PlayStation 5, try that game out. You won't be disappointed. It'll give you goosebumps. It'll make you cry. It's fantastic. But I think that as far as this is concerned, I don't think it's the end of the series by any means. I mean, they make way too much money on the Assassin's Creed series, and I think that the way that they ended it, there's just no way that they're going to stop it. So you heard that here on Metal Tiger Gaming, that we're not going to end it. And I think that it's a big cash cow. I'm missing something for a sequel. I don't think I am, but it's possible that could be. But I think it's going to be another game for sure, at least one. So my wife wants me to give her a shout out. So hi, I love you, my wife who's watching, my very dear champion who's watching. So I want to go ahead and give her a shout out. But like I said, ladies and gents, if you guys haven't already, make sure to like, comment, hope, some Demon Souls. We got a lot of different games coming up. I got another 12 games ready to go for you guys. So make sure you guys are following those. We'll be streaming. And like I said, guys, remember, gaming favors the bold, and have a great day.